Welcome to the Communication Diva Podcast, episode 140. Today on the podcast, 11 signs it's time to find a new job. Sign number 1, you're fired.
Hey, this is Jen. Welcome to the Communication Diva Podcast, episode 140. This is the show that helps you to get the job, to love your work, and to advance your career. If you are listening to this show when it first releases, I will be having fun at a big conference in Anaheim, California called Podcast Movement. I'm looking forward to being there, to seeing other podcasters, to learning a ton of stuff, and to meeting all sorts of new people. I am going with my new assistant to the Communication Diva, Katie, who prefers to call herself my professional wizard because of all the Communication Diva magic that she works. She will be joining me, and we are going to enjoy all sorts of activities and all sorts of learning as the conference goes on. So when we get back, I will let you know how it went and some of the details, and I'm hoping to have some new guests lined up for the show as well. So I hope you will stay tuned for those updates and for the coming episodes. All right, so today's topic is 11 signs it's time for you to find a new job. There is the normal job boredom, or moments or situations or tasks or even people that you don't enjoy all the time at work. But I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about today is more than that. What I'm talking about is more an overarching, more constant unhappiness with the work that you do. If you have some or most of these 11 signs, then you might really want to start considering your next move if that is possible for you. I know that for some people it's impossible to make a career change or a job move due to various life circumstances. But if you do have the ability to make a switch and you do have many of the signs I'm about to share with you, then you might want to start doing that in earnest. So here we go. I'm going to talk about the 11 signs. They're not in any particular order. I'm just going to launch in. Number 1, you are bored. You've been doing the same thing at work for ages, maybe since your very first day. There's not much variety, or you're not in a position where you're able to do anything new. Some people find comfort in repetition and sameness, and that's good. There can be a stability to that, and you can always find ways to improve your own performance of whatever it is that you're doing, even if it's not that exciting. But if you're feeling restless and you're thinking, I could get so much done if I wasn't here doing this dumb thing all day, then your thoughts could be telling you something true. They could be a signal that you need to make a change. Time is precious. It's a precious commodity. And if you've started to feel like you're wasting your time doing what you're doing, then you might be right. It might be time to consider something else. Number 2, you aren't learning anything new. If there's no room to grow in the role you are in, if there's no chance for advancement, if there's nothing technologically or procedure-wise that's coming up that you will need to learn, then you can easily get bored and feel stale and quite stuck. Unless you can do interesting and exciting new things outside of work to stimulate your brain and keep learning, like maybe take on a new hobby or find a new activity to learn a new language, maybe take cooking classes or join different groups of people that you haven't hung out with before, then you might decide to do those kinds of things and just stay where you are. But unless you're able to do that, if you're not learning anything new, you might decide that it's time to move on just to keep your brain active again, just to keep learning again. If there's nothing you can do to improve upon what you are doing already, then that might be a sign that it's time to move on. Number 3, your job no longer matches your values. Values can change as we mature and as we experience new things in life. Maybe you don't feel comfortable doing what you're doing anymore from a values perspective. Maybe it was fine once upon a time, but something's changed in your life. Something has shifted, and you don't feel like you are in alignment anymore. I know a young man who tried vacuum sales for a while and decided that while he absolutely did, he loved the machine he was selling and he bought one for himself. Although that was true, he felt very uncomfortable selling really expensive vacuum cleaners to mostly elderly people who were his clientele, people who might not even need their own vacuum in a couple of years down the road because they might not be able to do that physically themselves. The job he felt was rubbing up against his values, and so he resigned and he went on to do something completely different. So if the work you are doing makes you feel uncomfortable in your head or in your heart, you might ask if it is in alignment with your values or not. And if the work that you're doing is not any more in alignment with who you are as a person, it might be time to do some thinking. Number 4, one of the signs that it might be time to get a new job is that you are irritable and cranky a lot. Do you find yourself scowling? Are you unhappy? Are you cranky? Are you snappy for much of the day? Are you no fun to be around in the workplace? It could be the cause of your snippiness is your job. It could be any number of other things too, but one thing that could be causing your moodiness is your unhappiness in being at work. I know a person who was coasting to retirement, was going to be able to retire in about a year and a half, and she was really not wanting to be working anymore, but she had to. It was easy to see that her I care level was really low, which is really unfortunate given that she was a nurse and nurses are supposed to care. It's supposed to be part of the job. At any rate, she was miserable to work with and she was miserable to her patients sometimes, and it was pretty clear to everyone around her that she just didn't want to be there. She was cranky, she was snappy, she was short, she was curt, she was rude, and she just didn't want to be there. So that's a big sign. Number 5, you just don't care. So this follows on the irritability and the crankiness. You might just not care anymore. You might feel thoroughly unmotivated. And this is not a healthy state to be in for anything, relationships or the work that you do. You might ask yourself why you don't care. And you might ask yourself when it was that you stopped caring. Was it an incident? Was it a person? Was it just slowly over time you stopped caring? You might ask yourself, but this is a really clear time that it's time to start, a clear sign that it's time to start looking for something that lights you up, that gives you purpose, that makes you excited even sometimes to go to work. Number 6, you complain about work all the time. Your family and your friends are tired of hearing about your rotten job because you talk about how rotten it is all the time. In fact, it's almost all that you talk about. If you don't like being there and then you spend all of your time when you're not there talking about how much you don't like being there, well, something is clearly wrong. If you wonder about this one, ask your friends and family because they will surely let you know how often you complain about your work. It might be that once you start noticing it yourself, that you will then know that it is a pretty common theme in your conversation. So pay attention to that and see if you are complaining about your work a lot or even much of the time. And that might be a very good indicator for you. Number 7, you are always stressed. Now, stress in small amounts is normal, and some of it is even good for you, but frequent stress is not really healthy, and stress all the time is downright dangerous. How stressed are you at work, and how stressed are you when you think about being at work? These are some good questions to ask yourself, and following up on last week's episode, these might be really good questions to journal about too. Number 8, you don't feel excited about what you do. You don't get excited talking about what you do, and you don't feel any energy around going to work. You feel instead this heaviness, this heavy sigh, and you feel as though you have to drag yourself into work every day. Those might be good signs that you might want to think about making a change. Number 9, you dread Mondays, or whatever day your week begins on. You absolutely dread going back to work. When you begin to literally dread going back, the signs are pretty crystal clear. If you begin to dread Mondays on Fridays, when you leave work and then you're dreading the fact that you only have a couple days off and that you have to go back, you might really look at that. Dreading work means that you might need to do something sooner than later about making a change. It means you're anxious, you're stressed, and you can really make yourself sick with this. Which brings us to number 10, which is your health is being affected. When sleep is disturbed, when you lie awake at night because you're upset about what's happening at work, or you're thinking about work and you're not sleeping, when you're getting every cold or every illness that goes through the office, when your health in general is failing, you might consider the root cause and pay attention to whether or not it has anything to do with how happy you are doing what it is that you do. These signs are connected. So when you are so unhappy that your health is affected, it's pretty serious. Number 11, you have been dreaming of quitting or of retiring or of changing jobs. If you've already begun to wonder, if you've already begun to look up the job postings online, if you've already begun to set up your LinkedIn profile and update your resume, then you've quite possibly already been imagining yourself leaving. And you may have actually started to leave in your heart and in your mind. And this is a very good sign that it's time to actually make it happen. Take the steps that you need to take to move on, to find something else to do. And it's not good to leave before you leave in many ways, because if your heart and soul is not in what it is that you're doing, then you've actually left. Other than your physical self being there, you've actually already moved on. So that is a very good sign and a very good question to ask yourself. Have I already, in my mind, moved on? So those are the 11 signs. I'll read them one more time to you. You are bored. You aren't learning anything new. Your job no longer matches your values. You are irritable and cranky a lot. You just don't care. You complain about work all the time. You are always stressed. You don't feel excited about what you do. You dread Mondays. Your health is being affected, and you've been dreaming of quitting, retiring, or changing jobs already. Those are 11 signs. There might be many others as well. And if you have some, you can fire me an email and let me know what some of the other signs might be that it's time to consider moving on. If you would like some help getting started with a job search, I offer a free 5-day Jumpstart Your Job Search Challenge to help you do just that. It's a series of daily emails, 1 email a day for 5 days, that's it, and each one gives you one action to take that day towards starting a job search. Every day you get one task in your inbox to complete, and by the end of the 5 days, you have a clear direction to go in. So if you'd like to participate, or you know someone who could use a little extra inspiration or coaching by email, it's very quiet, just comes into your inbox each day for 5 days, then come on over to communicationdiva.com, and on the right-hand side of the website, the front page, you will see the link on the top right-hand side to the 5-day Jumpstart Your Job Search Challenge. Click there. I think there's a picture of me with my finger pointing up to a button. Click there, sign up with your email. You'll be 5 days away to being set on a brand new path. Thanks so much for listening today. I want to leave you with this quote from Chris Grossner, who said, "Opportunities don't happen, you create them." Until next time, this is Jen Swanson. Have fun creating your next opportunity.